All right, let's take stock then of all that's happening across the globe and the FII selling with Ed Yardeni, who is now Yardeni rather, who is now joining in on the show. Thank you so very much for taking the time out. Ed, just given that we're going to have these central bank decisions in focus, there's been a lot of turmoil across the globe that has still not abated with respect to the Middle Eastern tensions. Crude oil prices as well have oscillated a lot due to that. How are you looking at the setup for the global markets?
Well, I think you're absolutely right to focus on the Middle East because that is having an impact on the price of oil. And this recent increase in the price of oil reflects that the Middle East conflict is spreading and it's becoming a more direct confrontation between Israel and Iran. And that certainly could impact the availability and the price of oil. And so that's got everybody jittery, of course. And then meanwhile, in the United States, there was a lot of talk about interest rates being cut aggressively by the Fed. But now people are having second thoughts about that following the very strong employment number that we had on Friday.
So, Ed, what are your thoughts on this China comeback trade? Most of the money managers, some are breathing sigh of relief because China is finally moving up.
Right.
Some are happy that the contra call is working. Is the China comeback trade the real deal?
I don't think so. I agree with your the position you took a few minutes ago, and pointing out that a 25% increase in basically a week doesn't happen very often, and so the market really discounted a lot of the good news, and a lot of it probably was short covering, and we probably are seeing some rotation out of India and into China, but I don't think that's going to last very long because I think China's problems are structural. A lot of it has to do with their rapidly aging demographic profile. In addition, they've tried to offset the weakness in consumer by dumping goods in global markets, and they're getting some pushback from Europe, from the United States, and other areas of the world. And the Europeans recently responded with some tariffs on their electric vehicles coming out of China. So I think this China trade is not going to last very long. I think the fundamental problems in the property market and underlying demographics are structural and can't be cured with policy.
Okay. So what to your mind could be the tactical trade for rest of the year? Could it be long bonds? Could it be long emerging markets, or just sit on cash?
Well, I think the market is moving towards a more plausible outlook for interest rates, which is at least in the United States, and that is that they're probably not going to come down as rapidly as people thought. And the bond yield actually has been going up on the perception that the Fed might actually have eased too much on September 18th when they did 50 basis points, that they may be overstimulating the economy, and that has to be a concern after the strong employment report. So I think bonds are going to provide better yields here, but I wouldn't say there's any reason to chase them. Meanwhile, I think the U.S. stock market broadens. It's been pretty much focused on the Magnificent Seven, but I think it's broadening out to what I call the S&P 493. There's lots of other good companies in the S&P 500 that will actually use the technologies that are made available, like artificial intelligence, to increase productivity. I'm not as keen on small cap and mid cap in the U.S. And in India, I think, if you continue to have a correction here, which is probably all it is, I don't think this is any more than a correction. I think it'll be a buying opportunity. Look, if interest rates are going to come down as much anytime soon in the United States, and if oil prices are going to go up, naturally, that's going to weigh on India's stock market.
Yeah, it is. Too many moving parts. Ed, great to have you on the show as always. Thanks for your thoughts.
My pleasure.
There comes a time when your heart calls for you to arise. Plant your feet solid into the ground. Decide your own limits. And then break right through them. Become something more. It's my time to rise.